Hello.
Hey, Roger. How's it going, man?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I've got a riddle for you, sir. You ready for it?
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
What has two thumbs and managed to screw up our original playthrough of this today? Wait, don't guess. I'll just go ahead and tell you. It's this guy.
Oh, it's all right.
That's all right. Yes. So, first of all, let me welcome Roger back to the second time today, and I appreciate you making time for this poor dumb schmo this evening to fix what I don't know what happened, but basically on my screen capture software there are two tracks. There's my audio track, and then there's everything else that comes through the computer. And when I did something today, it got all of mine, but it did not get any of Roger's. And normally we'd be like, pish posh, whatever, we'll make it work. But it was such a good session today that I said, no, we got to figure out a way to salvage this. So what we're going to do, and Roger had a great idea. This is an experiment in form that we're doing here. Is I've got the log file spooled up, and we are going to go through, and this will actually be a lot quicker because there's no dead time. There's just everything that Vassal recorded. And what we will do is this is like your DVD narration comments track that you used to pay extra for on those special edition DVDs. We're doing the same thing today, or this evening as it turns out. We're going to just try to treat it as exactly like we don't know what's happening, but we're expediting it. So this should be a little bit quicker tonight. I don't have to do any, very much editing. But Roger, thanks for doing this tonight, and welcome back.
I'm glad to. I think this will be interesting, and I hope people comment on this because I don't know if anybody's ever done this before. I've seen some people like show the final result and talk about how they got there, but I don't think anyone's ever walked through a log file before. So this will be interesting.
I have done it one time out of necessity in one of my Combat Commander games where the player was
Hmm.
a little shy, and that was totally fine.
Oh,
I always give people the option, hey, if you don't want to be recorded, that's great. And he opted not to, so I just did the exact same thing. But it was just me going through, and then I did this, and then I did that. But this is the first time where it's free form. You and I, we know what's going to happen, but we're going to act like we don't know what's happening, and we're just going to basically narrate what is going on as we go through the process. Some of it will be very straightforward. Some of it we're going to be figuring out once we see what we start to do in the recording.
yeah.
But yeah, this.
There's some of this I've already blocked out of my mind. So I can't believe you're making me relive some of it. That's all right.
Yes, Vassal's version of PTSD. No, this is going to be good because this will also allow us to pull the curtain back, and we can No, we've had a few hours to digest some of this. We can comment once we see it again what our thought process was and what we think, these larger ramifications may or may not be. But be that as it may, what I've done, Roger, on my side is I went into my preferences on Vassal. This might help you too. And normally I have the center on opponent's moves turned off. I have it unchecked. But tonight I'm checking it so that as we go through, it's going to zip right to wherever Roger starts moving stuff, and vice versa for me. I think it does it for both, but I'm not sure. We're going to find out here in a minute.
Yes,
And
I
then
think it does. Yeah, mine's set as well.
Great. And then we will be able to see that will focus our attention on that. And then as we start seeing the playback, we can go, oh, okay, that's right. I activated so and so. He did this. And, we'll just kind of give it the John Madden, Al Michaels, whoever. Insert your favorite color commentator there. And we'll see how this works. So, as we normally do, first we'll go through with some corrections. I believe that was the first thing we had on this. The only corrections that I had, and I'm gonna attempt to step through the log here as we go through this. So we had the first thing that was brought up was Holger pointed out that in the situation where I'm dismantling the Louisa County supply depot that I've got, that still counts for while it's being dismantled. So in when you're building it, it actually only supplies the county that it's in. But if it's already there, it's still
Yes,
considered a full
it's
supply.
completed.
Right. It's completed and it's doing so until it's removed from the board. So I went back here, and the first couple of steps you're going to see here is I'm just fixing the individual units that were set to out of supply. They are now back in supply. Um, and let's see. Oh, okay. So we did that. And then the other correction was that on the VP track, we have it Roger and I incorrectly in that second round of combat in the valley last time when Siegel, or not Siegel, when Lynchburg was at stake. In the second round, there was actually a -2, so that was a -2D, and we only counted it as one, and so I've added that back here. So Roger is starting this session at 39 manpower losses. And I think that's the only changes we had right out of the gate. Was there anything else that you could think of, Roger?
That was, yeah, the only other change. I took the manpower loss off of Kitching, was that I had inadvertently removed a sub when I was trying to create my depot.
That's right, and
Probably,
that's
I hit the wrong key combination. I probably sent it back to HQ instead of creating the depot like I was trying
That's
to.
right,
So,
and that's why I just saw it. It focused on Mott and the depot. It was adding that sub
yeah,
back, so that's great. We have no random events this session, so that's easy. And we went right into leader
yeah,
transfers.
transfer. Yeah,
And I just saw Hancock move from Barlow over to
Bernie,
Bernie. Okay. Um,
and I moved Grant up to Warren.
that's right. Okay. Great. All right. So then I apparently went back to my sub. Everything was fine up there. I had
We were in the attachments, I
we're in the
think.
attachments, and then I rolled Johnston into Terry. So that was easy. And then I let you do the first roll for initiative, and the Union has won the first initiative. So
Yes,
take it from there.
I'm going to activate Warren's 2 divisions, and I'm going to roll for movement.
And what happened? You rolled a 4. You got 5 movement points.
Five
What are your
movement
thoughts on?
points. Well, what I'm looking at is I decided I in my that I'm going to attack. I'm going to go for movement, and I'm thinking through: do I want to attack on the march or not? And I honestly don't remember what I did. So let's just move through the log,
Let's go.
and
Sure.
I'll move Griffin
Okay.
first.
So all right. So you did approach, and then you got Heath completely surrounded.
Yes,
And so
and I think I said I didn't like the odds here. I think it was going to be a I have a +3 on a flank, but I don't have enough for a prepared. So I think I decided to move Crawford next, and I moved him into Polly Hunt's corner to block that sub from coming down and setting up a flank on me, because I was not going to get the next initiative in my head.
well, we never do. And then lo and behold, you get the next initiative. Uh,
Right.
and so now what are you
So
thinking? It's got.
I'm going to attempt an assault with Griffin, and fingers crossed get the grand assault. So this is my team and roll, and I get it to work, and I ask for a grand assault here. I really want this grand assault because I really need that extra bit, and I don't get it, of course.
Because Grant was tired or drunk or whatever
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, whatever, probably. So my assault does come off. So I've got a plus. Yeah, there it is. I've got a 1 type. I got a flank of 3. The RE is -1. I really wanted to get that. That would have been +2 if I'd gotten that grand assault.
Eh,
So my final is a +3,
I'm starting to sweat here.
which,
Uh,
and hopefully, yeah, that's a nice roll for me.
Gets an 8,
I'm happy.
and then I get a 4. So Heath is going to become demoralized, and
Yep.
because of his size, he loses a manpower, and he gets driven away. Obviously, I've got some pathway issues here that are concerning, but in this case, he can go one away and into a friendly, uh, and then he can go farther away
Got it.
to no Zoc, and then farther away by road. And I decide to take him across the creek. And I hesitated there for a minute, but I thought, you know what, I really should take the opportunity to come to one side of Meadow Bridges. So using that last couple there, I got him into place there.
Yeah, and I was checking. You can retreat either direction. You don't have to go. You can, as long as you don't get closer, and you don't have to follow a road. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a good move.
Yep.
Real good move.
And Warren decides to take the hex, and obviously
I decided to take the hex. Yeah, I thought about that for a while too, and I decided to go ahead and take the hex.
you might as well set up for the next big one, right? Big,
Yep.
so initiative is rolled, and it turns out to be mine. So that's a little bit of a respite for me. And I decide
Yep.
to move Hampton.
Yeah.
And
That surprised me.
well,
I'll say that. In my head, I was going, interesting choice.
yes. Well, so just looking at him right now, we can see that Young does have three. So I'm shooting for 25% here, and I'm going to come up and attempt to
Yep.
flank Griffin here since he's an 11.
Yep.
So I stop right there, feeling pretty hopeful. Roll the next initiative, and it's Roger's initiative.
Mine.
Yes.
And I believe I decided to take Griffin to fatigue 4 and attempt an assault. And you have to decide whether you're going to run away or
That's
not.
right. And I considered it. I was like, well, he could roll a 6 and just fail, and then I'd be pretty good. But I decided prudence. I roll, or I'm moving Hampton away, and then I have to roll for, which I forgot to do. Roger reminded me. I still have to roll, and I rolled a 1. So, of course, I'm going to lose a manpower in that, and it's the cost of doing business.
I was thinking if you stayed, I was going to go for that grand assault with Robinson, and then I thought I had a good chance at really
Oh
smacking you
yeah,
around.
yeah. Now there was just no way I was gonna stay there at all. So then you roll the assault attempt. It does come off, and you have the option of taking the hex if you wish, but you opted not to. Roll the next
Yeah,
initiative, and you won the next initiative.
yeah. So now I'm going to activate Crawford again, and I'm going to roll for movement with Crawford with Warren, and he gets just enough where he can come down to Huntley's corner. Now I'm hoping to get the next initiative, which I do, and now I attempt another assault with Crawford. Comes off. Now I attempt another grand assault. Yeah, I got the grand. So now I've got Crawford and Bernie under Hancock. And this is a nice one. I'm happy with this one. Run ratio 1 flank, or I'm sorry, type 1 ratio 1, 4 on a flank. Again, you did get to use artillery because you had 4 artillery in there. That's a huge advantage for the rebels that their artillery travels with their divisions.
Solid attack, and no two ways about it, especially with that grand coming off. So you roll and get a
A 1.
1. So that,
And I'm not swearing out loud, but
the mute
it's
button is
in
working.
my head. I'm thinking, God, if he rolls a 6 here, I'm just going to just be so upset.
And then I roll defense, and I get a 1 as well.
Mm,
Oh, the heartbreak, because that means we have a leader casualty, and we have to check for both Warren and for AP Hill. And I believe
yes.
you rolled first.
First, yes, I
Check on
rolled for
Warren.
Warren.
Did he catch a bullet? He did not. Then I rolled for AP Hill, and he caught one right between the
Yeah, he
eyes.
did. Yeah.
So
So AP Hill gets killed.
AP Hill is killed at the Battle of, what are we calling this? The Battle of Nunley's Mill. Sure, what the heck?
Yep.
Or
What the
or
heck?
Beaver Dam Creek, depending on where you're from. So I remove
Okay.
AP Hill. He's replaced by Jubal Early, and he comes on board. He's exactly the same. So yes, it's
Same. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit cosmetic, but
I was hoping for like a 3-6 or something like that,
you would
or
think.
4-5. Some advantage somewhere. But
But he takes over the third corps, and so now I've been absolutely shattered. I take 5. I'm deficient by 5, so I lose 2 manpower, and I'm of course demoralized. And you also took 1 in that big attack, so
yes, I did.
yep. Now I have to hide away. So luckily I've got a good roadway path, so that takes me back um, towards Stewart, and then having Stewart there means I can go into
Into
Stewart's
there.
friendly
Yep.
hex, even though there's no road there. Luckily, that's a 4A to the left of the slash, so no manpower loss there. Cross the Chickahominy, and then I decide that I'm going to occupy one of these particular redoubt hexes, but I was like waffling which one I wanted to, and I ended up going from there and then use my last free movement to take him all the way out to Newbridge Church. That way I can cover if Gibbon decides to get sneaky and come across the Chickahominy through that bridge. So third corps is completely in disarray. Sub eight's way up there. Anderson's nobody knows where Anderson is. He's still outside of Spotsylvania. So
At this point, I'm feeling pretty good.
you are
I,
feeling
I
pretty
look
good.
I mean, my guys are tired. I mean, I've got units of fatigue 4 and 3, but very nice to clean that up. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Well, you take Walnut Grove and you advance in, roll the next initiative, and of course I win it. Too late. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I think what I need to do is get some backup in here. So I activate Longstreet and the entire of the first corps. They get a 7 movement, and I decide I'm going to rally on Hanover Junction with enough movement points to get everybody stacked in there on that large stack, and then that way I can utilize potentially railroad movement to get them where I need them a little bit quicker. Roll the next initiative, I get it. At this point, I just start one division at a time, just embarking and then moving. So I embark one of the three, I think probably field with Longstreet, won the next initiative, and then decide to give him 2 fatigues and move him as far down the rails as I can, which I believe is all the way to just outside of where Sheridan is. So, because I can't go into the meadow bridges since you have a Zoc there. So we stop there, and that's what the next few initiatives that I will win. Just constantly embark the next
Yeah,
one, win the next, move him down, and then I managed to. Oh, and then you interrupt because you get the next initiative. So, and we'll see what you're going to do here.
yeah, because I don't remember.
I don't either. See, you got a 5 movement on somebody. So obviously on Robinson, moving him in, and he comes in to threaten Stewart.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was my intention here is I wanted Stewart out of the way. And I was just building up a nice manpower attack here.
And I believe, even in the face of that, I decided I was going.
You stand,
I
yeah.
stand because you used
Yep,
enough. You used too much getting into the Walnut Grove hex. So,
yep,
so I stood, and then I got the next initiative, and I embark sub 4, get him on the train, but then you won the next initiative. So I'm gonna
yep.
hand it back to
I
you.
think now, yeah, I think now I'm going to attempt an assault attempt under Hancock with Bernie, I
Yes.
believe is what I'm going to try to do.
And that's when I decide, yeah, I think it's time to go. So
Yep,
Stewart decides to retreat. He rolls his 4, no problem, and then he does the minimum of 4, which takes him into one of the fort hexes outside of Richmond.
yep.
And
And I'll roll and move, and I think I'll move Bernie into Ellerson's mill. No, I've got that forward as well as my 2 bridges.
you got the next initiative, and you're going to see a lot of strings today on both sides.
Rolled a 6, activated Bernie. This is where rolling well caused all kinds of trouble for me. But yeah, we'll go ahead. Oh, I moved Gibbon and Bernie. Yeah, I go that way, that way, that way. I attack the fort, I
You
believe.
did. You had enough immediately to attack the fort. I think you had
Yep.
2 left over, and with 13 to intrinsic value, yeah, it was not even a fight. It was just like burning, setting fire to an empty building, and you did. I defended to the best of my ability, but you managed to destroy the fort, and it reverts
And
to a
moved
permanent
it in.
readout hex.
Yep.
And you occupied it, so you have
Yep.
breached the Richmond defenses. And now, what are you feeling at the moment?
I was thinking that was a smart play. Now that I see this and I see the +11, I probably would have been smarter to have done a hasty attack and left myself one more movement point. I think would have been a smarter thing to have done. Maybe.
Oh, that way you could attack Stewart right after. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I didn't. So I'm not feeling too bad. I felt like honestly this is one of those bad things about Vassal because I realize what I did now is I'm looking at the screen and the zooming I have. I needed to have scrolled up and seen Ramseur. I just realized that just now. This is interesting doing it this way. I never, the way I would have been looking at my screen, I was looking at Longstreet at Fatigue 3. I didn't scroll up to see Ramseur. So yeah,
So yeah, but
uh,
I won the next initiative. I am totally sweating at this point because I'm scrambling. Hancock's still got a movement. I don't know if he can knock out Gracie right there, at the
that's
Capitol.
what I was hoping for. Obviously, yeah,
Uh,
was a
this is really really tremendous. set of events that have fallen into place here. So luckily, I got the next initiative. I do decide to. I'm going to utilize Hoke. So I get Hoke into play, and he decides to leave one of the units. He just activates Haygood, and the two of them are going to travel through the city and try to set up something on the edge of the urban core. Just in case Hancock's going to try to come through, obviously he's going to go through one of those directions, but I at least wanted to set up a potential to expel him from the city. So they get there. I opt to just stand firm. I get the next initiative, and that's when I bring in Ramseur as the backup. So he rolls, doesn't get a great movement, but it's three. And this is a game of patience at this point. I just see if I can set things up before all the dominoes fall. So get the next initiative,
Yep.
and then Ramseur to two. He gets a
And I'm going,
fantastic move.
yeah, no, I'm going. What were you thinking when you did what you did? What were you thinking? Why didn't you go over and attack Lee's hex like I was going to do before I rolled the six?
Sometimes that siren song of the big movement roll can
Yeah, well, I
really.
got to do something with it.
Oh yeah,
I got to do something
exactly.
with it.
So Ramsor gets the march. He's got 7 movement points, and this was the big question I have: is um, do I get right to it? Do I occupy a fort, or do I set up a potential flank? Um, Knowing that there are different avenues, you've got a highway now into here. So I'm gambling a little bit here. I decided to just stop short and set up the full flank right here. I probably, in hindsight, should have continued on to Strawberry Hills or to Mechanicsville Pike just to keep you out of there because you did, in fact, win the next initiative. So, how did you react to this?
There was a very long pause here. I activated Bernie and I was thinking, do I entrench, build Abatisse? Didn't feel like that was going to help me a lot. Maybe it was the right play. I do I throw up a flanks refused or do I move? And I opted to move one hex
Yep,
up the Mechanicsville
yep.
Pike
And
to get closer to home. And I don't. I obviously that's a debatable decision.
yeah, because you rolled a 2, and with that, Stewart decided he was going to stand.
Yeah, yeah, I was hoping for a bigger number, maybe to get Stewart out of there, but a two, yeah, wasn't because you're in a fort, so you get
Right, I get the intrinsic value of that, right.
yeah.
So
So
you rolled your extended march past that, and then you decided, yeah, just to get him somewhat out of harm's way.
yeah, I was hoping, yeah. So
Okay,
that was my thinking there. And you get the next initiative, of
I
course.
did, and I decide at this point I'm going to activate Hoke again. Even with that great roll, all I did was move him and Haygood to there to join Stewart in that fort because I'm still trying to potentially set up a flank somehow. But I also need to stay within the command radius of Lee if I'm going to get anything done. And that's my big fear is I get there, then you won the next initiative. So we're starting to go back and forth, and we're really just both getting very tense here because this is one of those moments in great campaigns where it's like I just need 2 in a row. I didn't get 2 in a row, and if you've been in that situation, you know, especially in a campaign game, that's how tense it could be. So you get it, and then that's when the cavalry decides to come in, and what happens? You rolled a 1 on movement,
So,
and that
so I just and I went, yeah, I went to. Well, I'll go ahead and move it. You'll see, I go to the, in my case, to the left, to the west, because I wasn't thinking about the Lee bonus. I wanted to take off hex for flanking.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, with that too, you only just get across the Chickahominy. Then I won the next
Yep.
initiative. So now I'm deciding to get Ramseur into play, and this is risky because I there's a pretty good chance that I might. I mean, he's not exhausted, but I just had this feeling I was going to roll 6, and I really needed him at full power. But luckily, I get a middling roll, which is only 2 movement points, but he passes the extended
Yep.
march, which is very important. And then I do at that point set up the full flank on Hancock. I'm hoping, praying for the next initiative, which I did not get.
Yep. I activate Robinson again. He gets a 5, and I move.
This was your big decision, left or right, lady or tiger, right?
Yeah, and I decide to go He passes, so I move. Yeah, I move him there.
And then I won the next initiative. So
Yep.
you did succeed in reducing a +4 flank down to a +3. So I attempt an assault with Hoke and Haygood. It passes, and then I send a courier to Lee for grand assault so that I could potentially bring in Ramseur to cover everything else, and I get it. So now
Yep.
I've
That was. I didn't even think about Hoke attempting the assault. I was thinking the attack was going to come from Ramseur. So I probably, if I'd have gone down to New Britain, well, probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I suppose.
I managed to get the assault, and I with the grand assault I cover the artillery, I cover the
Yes,
manpower, and so with that full flank reduced down to a +3, I just get a +4. Not great, but because I'm just picturing rolling another one for myself. But at the same time, I'm looking at the very least, I'm getting Hancock potentially out of there. I mean, he's already not moving for the rest of the turn, but I get him out of there, maybe score some manpower losses. So I roll, and I get a 6. So that brings it to 10, and Roger rolls a 1.
a one.
So we have let's see, we've had a 6-1, and we've had a Snake Eyes. So very bloody day thus far. So that is 4 manpower losses for Bernie in that point, and luckily he's got an escape route, so he won't take anything else. So I add the 4 manpower losses, demoralize, and of course you can go out through Grant because it originated from Hoke, and so that is what you do. You just take him right out 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have the option for more. And I think you just opted to stay at Walnut Grove, yeah.
I did, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you got the next initiative, and I did not take the hex, obviously, because I wanted to stay in the nice ring of forts there. So this is where,
Yeah.
yes,
Start bringing, yep, start bringing in, want to start moving divisions up
yep.
to, because I felt like I'd done enough damage at that point.
So Wadsworth is coming on down. Then I get the next initiative. I saw that and I went, well, I think sub 8 at least needs to counter somehow. So I get him into movement, and what happens? The siren song of the 6. So I've got 7 movement points to deal with, and I decide I'm just going to go full bore, cross the bridge, and get all the way up into Wadsworth's face. Is that the smart play? Don't know. We'll see. So you won the next initiative, and you decide,
Yeah. Go get Sedgwick and bring him down.
yeah, the big brother, see? Nah. And so the 6 Corps is moving with a 7 movement. And yes, you decide. Now, I noticed you brought him down this way. I was curious as to, was this to keep your options open potentially for another play on Hanover?
Yes, I wanted to keep some pressure on potentially making a play for Hanover or down at Ashland. I wanted you to think about where's he heading. And I didn't, I felt like there was no danger to me going that way. The roads are just, man, there's a ton of roads, but they don't go where you want them to go.
They're meant to go from yeoman farmer to yeoman farmer, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah, in these woods and following the creek. So, yeah, I got the next initiative and I take them again. Seriously thinking about force marching Sedgwick. Decided not to. Get the next initiative. Now I got a nice movement. Now I'm trying to think of the best way to going after sub 8.
And I'm feeling kind of, not foolish, but thinking, uh oh, what? I mean, I'm just having the same moment you did. It's like, how far did I ever extend myself? And what's my escape plan? Go for it. You get him in there. So you brought Sedgwick to there. I guess I was a little surprised that you went that way. I thought you were going to come all the way around, maybe to 1713 somehow, because then I would have
I
had a really bad day.
Yeah, I couldn't. Uh, I was at fatigue 3, so I felt like I should close. And I believe I made an attack on the march, didn't I? Let's see, what did I do?
No, you won the next initiative.
I won the next initiative. I remember thinking really hard about making an attack on the march. So now I activate Getty to fatigue 4, and I make my core assault, which comes off, plus 4 attack. I'm feeling okay. That's pretty good. I thinking I could have moved right to 16-14 and went for the full flank, but I just didn't think I'd get that next unit, so I decided to go ahead and make the attack now. That's not bad, but then look what happens.
Oh, we stand. Well, not really. I mean, it's still a plus
Not
two.
really. There's
If
a retreat,
but
but
that was for a substitute unit to roll a 6 like that. I was amazed and elated. Uh,
yeah, I was not because I take another loss. At this point, after a great start, I'm bleeding manpower.
and I decided to go the extra hex into the open space, which has also got a creek on the edge. So I figure if you're going to pursue, I might have some options there to just kind of keep myself stuck to the river on one side. I've got an escape route with Hanover Ferry, so lots of things going on there.
Yep.
But guess what? Got the next one.
Yeah, I think I move Wadsworth.
You did.
Yeah, I move Wadsworth, swing all the way around to there. Get the next one. Now I activate right, and he gets good movement, and he also doesn't fail his extended march. Yeah, he doesn't extend. So now I can come in and hit you again. Now it's yeah, we're talking about the
The
flank.
flanking here, yep. All 6 hexes covered, but 2 of them will come off because they're the major river, or minor
Yep.
river,
So I end
rather.
up
Uh,
+2 flank.
+2 flank, yep. So nice,
106.
nice big 6 modifier. And you get a 3. And I got a 3 as well, so I take a big hit with that sub. It is at least 1 man. Yeah, I lost a manpower. I don't think you lost anything on that because you had 6.
Nope.
And
Yeah, I
then
was okay.
my thought process here is they are demoralized, and I really don't want them in the middle of traffic. So normally, if they had not been demoralized, I probably would have stopped somewhere there just to be a roadblock. But I figure, again, prudence, I'm going to just go ahead and use those last 2 to get sub 8 out of the way, knowing that eventually Sedgwick and Wadsworth are going to, come down that way. So, and you take the hex, and then I get the next initiative. And at this point, I decide I'm going to move sub 4 since he's still.
Yep.
But I'm not going to take him as far as I did Longstreet. I'm just going to bring him down and reinforce Ashland because that is a supply depot and that's points as well. And just wanted to have an extra set of people there that we could potentially fortify. So I'm going to leave that there. And next initiative. And I think at this point, I start just shuttling
Yeah, I
uh,
shutting guys down.
slowly. So Johnson moves a little bit. Then I get Anderson. He moves a bit. I've got a plan for Anderson, but I have to find the right way to execute the plan. And then you decide at this point. I guess because it's funny, we go in fits and starts and waves. When I go up to one area, you counter because that's what we often do. And I think this is when you decide you're gonna do the Ninth Corps. Is that? I think.
No, I'm moving Merritt
Oh,
at
that's
this
right. Yeah, yeah,
point
that's right.
because what I'm thinking here is I need to damage. I mean, this is going back to your railroad movement. I don't think I've handled my cavalry very well at all. I did at the beginning of the game. I felt like I used them very efficiently, but at the beginning of this campaign. But after that, they've just not accomplished anything of value, and I feel like I need to start damaging some railroad stations. So that I think we had a conversation. I was really kicking myself that somebody here, Wilson, is only a 1, so he can't do anything for me. So I start moving my cav
Yeah.
to hopefully damage some railroad stations, and I roll a frickin' 4.
Frickin' 4. And I counter this with the amount of railroad damaging I was doing in the beginning, which was, as everyone pointed out, thank you very much, it was totally inconsequential because you had a plan for building a depot at a landing or somewhere else. So all of that stuff I was doing up and around Fredericksburg was of no use whatsoever, other than fun. But you got the next initiative,
Yep,
and then I think you took Merritt
take them
again,
again.
and not very fast, however.
So I put them at that junction there.
But you are
And
you are
yeah,
getting the strings, and you're getting to March now, so you have some choices here about you decide to split them up. It looks like.
Yeah, I was here. I was thinking, do I want to go down and just put a guy at Verdon Station next to Early at 3, and I decide not to do that. I decide to slide him there. I have some hope to doing something with him later. But that's it for those guys. They're done for the day. Other than I'll take who wins the next initiative. But
I did, yeah. And I thought about, they're both at 4, and maybe this is the time to just go harass them and at least get them out of their 3-4, out of their 4 manpower to disorganize. But I've got bigger things to do, so I want to move Anderson. He gets a 5 movement. Then you get the next initiative,
and
and
take the opportunity to damage Chester Depot.
right,
So at least you can't until you repair that station. You can't
can't
embark there
right.
because you've got a lot of manpower, and Burnside's not going to chase anybody down.
But Burnside looks like yes, you got in the
Yeah,
next
I
initiative.
start. Yeah, I start moving them down.
And seeing that, now I have to figure out a way to counter Burnside. So I'm going to activate my subs there. They're small, but I'm going to stack them together if I can get a couple of initiatives. So I get sub 1 there, hoping that I will get the next one, of course, which I do. And then I bring sub 5. We abandon the bridge, get him there. So now, at least if Burnside's going to. I put him there specifically so that I didn't want him right next to it because I didn't want Burnside to assault them. But also, if you try to attack on the march, you can't leave the Zoc and then attack in the next Zoc. So
Right.
I figured that's a little insurance policy for them too. So now I'm just trying to chew up some of your fatigues if I can. Get the next initiative and just bring E. Johnson up to counter Ferrero. And then you got the next initiative and you decide. It's funny, we have this detente where you see me moving and then you move and we're like, who's going to try to attack whom? So I thought when you did that, that was interesting. Like you were afraid that I was going to try to come up and flank Burnside.
Yes, that's exactly what I was concerned
Yep.
about. Was because you have a tactical on me with E. Johnson. So yeah, I mean that was exactly what I was. So I'll block you
Yep.
there.
And then I got the next initiative, and I decided to just bring E. Johnson up. And he didn't get a great movement, but that's all I needed to do was, again, I'm reacting to you're reacting to me reacting. So now we have got a standoff on this creek, on the Matter River. I get the next initiative, and Anderson goes to 3 and gets a great roll. And so that gets me
Yeah,
7. And I also was like, okay, I passed the extended march, but do I really want to force march? Because really, all I need to do, what I'm trying to do, is just to get him to face off against sub 8 there. But rather than do that, I'd rather keep him fresh. So I won the next initiative. I move him to 4, and then he passes his extended and just gets right to there. So that's all I wanted to do for the turn. But that did leave me open for if you wanted to come back or flank around. Anderson's a big sitting duck there. But I get the next initiative. Now I'm going to move Terry. And this is when I changed the theater focus to Goochland. And Terry decides he's going to move, but sadly gets a poor movement roll, so I can only go 2. I get the next initiative, however. Then Beauregard is a choice here. So I've got 2 options. I can either come up to Michaud's Ferry or I can go to Jefferson's Ferry. Either way, I'm trying to get up to the north side of the James somehow. There's going to be a penalty because the James is a major river and I'm using a ferry, so I'm going to get charged a little bit on movement. So I decided that I'm going to activate ransom, and then with that movement, I'm just going to go right to Michaud's Ferry and see how you react to that. And you won the next initiative, so they gave you the opportunity to react, and you're kind of questioning what I'm going to do here, which is great. So what are you thinking on this one?
well, what I was thinking, we had a conversation. I can't destroy the ferry because you're opposite me. And I had in my head destroying the ferry where you're at and also destroying the ferry at Cedar Point. But I got, and that was actually what I was going to do after. our little battle with the sub in Sedgwick. But I got worried about you chasing Devon, so we ended up doing that instead. So I'm really now in reaction mode. Everything I'm doing, you're jumping ahead, and I am behind. So I think I remember. I think I spent a lot of time trying to decide: do I drop off a sub? Do I care? I feel like I got to block Terry, so I believe I dropped a sub here. When did I drop a sub? I can't remember. Okay, I dropped a sub at this point. I couldn't remember if I
And
moved
that's
drop sub at
that's
this point.
standard operating procedure. Anytime you're abandoning a crossing like that, just leave some people behind.
Yeah,
Weitzel goes up and decides he's going to counter Terry, which
yeah.
I thought was a good move. You obviously sniffed out what I was trying to do, so now it comes down to playing the initiatives and gambling. So I got the next initiative. Now I can, depending on what kind of movement I get with Beauregard, which ends up he activates ransom, and I got apparently there we go. I got a 4 movement, so I have to lose 2. Actually, a 5 because Beauregard's a +2. So with 5 movement points, 2 to leave the hex, another one there, and then 2 because it's an extra because he's a 5 manpower. Divide by 3. That's a 1 penalty on that ferry, so that's the extra cost. So it's 2 to go into Cedar Point. So that's all of my movement there. And now I'm hoping that I get the next initiative. Do I? I do not.
I believe I decided to dig in. I believe.
You
Yeah,
did.
I built Baptiste, and I
Yes.
think I moved sub 6 as well.
Yes. So you
I moved him up to there because I was worried about you coming sliding around through 1615.
and we did have some comments on that last time about 15, 16, and it's just because of that, that crook of the James River here that you get those 3 are covered, but they're all going to come off. So it usually takes your +4 flank all the way down to a +1, but it's still that's
Yeah.
a +1. You could use it. So you move sub 6 right in with Terry.
Oh,
Or
I did.
yeah, that's
Okay.
right. And then I got the next initiative, and I'm trying to figure out how do I crack this nut. So I think what I did here was I activated Terry with Beauregard, transferred Beauregard, and I decided to go up and around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That gives me some options if I provide I get the continued initiative, which I did not. So you're seeing that now.
Now I think I moved sub 6. Or do I do something weird here?
You did sub 6.
Okay.
Yeah, and you moved him.
And I transferred Smith to get the tactical up to 2 and moved them back over there. Yeah. Okay.
Then you got
At this point, I think my mind was this is probably as good as I'm going to get for defense right now.
well, it's a strong. I mean, 3 hexes all covering each other. That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
You got the next initiative, and then you decided to dig in everybody.
Dig him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I got the next initiative, and now it's time to make a play. So I had 2 options here. I could either utilize this flank here on Weitzel, or because you have a 3 there, and I have a 7. Well, obviously you've got 4.5 now, so I didn't quite have enough for a ratio anymore. But I thought that was probably the best way to just get in there and utilize the tactical, and see if I could just drive you out of there. So let's see what happens. I get a 5. That is enough to get in there. I've got a +1 prepared attack now. So I'm going to take that prepared attack, and we're just we're checking the flanks here. So I don't have enough. I've got only 4. So that's what I got. I got a tactical and a prepared. But then the
And I,
artillery, yeah, you rolled for your artillery and got it.
I came in.
So it's just a +1. I don't like making +1 attacks. People who watch the channel know that I don't like to make +1 attacks. But let's see what happens. I roll a 5 total, and you got a 3. So that 2 is enough to get you out of there. We got Todd jumping in, watching. So you move out there. You have to go across Micho's ferry.
Stay further away.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I took a loss on that one. So it was not enough to do much damage to you, but I did take one. But I occupy the area. out to there. So you won the next initiative. You activate Brooks.
Brooks and Weitzel. Roll Weitzel for movement. He gets a 4, and I choose to attack at the 0 at ransom.
So tell me your thought process on this.
Well, I was concerned that with Weitzel, you'd have a +2 flank, and I felt like I needed to try to de-ransom out, which was just not necessary. I don't know why I chose this attack. I digging in with Brooks, I think makes sense, but
Well, I mean, a spoiling attack is never a bad idea. And the one thing you had going in your favor was you didn't know this, of course, but Beauregard's sitting there. I can't get around to Ransom, so I was just going to stand pat and let Ransom wait until the next turn and then
yeah,
transfer Beauregard over there. But you didn't know that, so you thought maybe Ransom was going to do something because I've got a flank. And
yeah, and that was kind of the other thought you're talking about next turn. I was also thinking ahead to the next turn, where again, if I could do some damage to Ransom this turn, it was a low odds thing, but I felt like it to me it kind of made sense given the situation. And anyway, I'm choosing a prepared attack against Ransom. So let's see how this goes.
you roll a 1.
Yes, and then you rolled a
6.
6,
And the day got
and I'm
better and
going,
better, yes.
boy, that was stupid. So yeah, I think that's gonna be 2 manpower losses for
Yes,
me.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, you can see here I'm struggling to get that taken care of.
That's okay.
And we had a long discussion about whether he lost his abattis, and we decided that the entrenchment, since he didn't leave the hex, his entrenchments were not destroyed.
That's right. And then you got the next
So now,
initiative, and
and I decided I better bring West up, probably what I should have done the last turn. And he comes barreling across the ferry. Then you move back up
yep,
here.
I decide to WH Lee. Since he's only got DM Greg out there, I figure I'll go start a fight with DM Greg, so he gets a great movement and just goes and. If nothing else, I'm going to stick like glue to you to force you to either go around me or just eat up a manpower or a movement point. So you get the next initiative and you
I go
decide,
back south,
yep, to west.
move West up, and I move him up to. So now he's there. So that hex has now got some protection, and then I think we go back up to Burnside, and I start moving some of these guys
And
around.
Wilcox plods, but he gets to the
Yeah, he's
bridge.
in. And I think
Yeah, I got the next initiative. Stewart
that
decides
moves
to dig
in.
in because I'm anticipating a big attack from Burnside. So
Yeah,
and then you get the next one.
I move the artillery up,
Oh yeah, that's right. Then
and then I think
I got
you
it.
get the next one. I think you dig in, or
I think I passed and I gave it to you. Yeah, I passed.
oh, okay. Then I move the sub up to Burnside. Is the long range plan. I don't know when I get around to doing it.
I won again, and then I passed it to you again, and you decide to just simply move the
Yeah,
sub
move
up.
sub to. Yeah,
And you can
and then
tell
I
when I
set
start
up.
passing, I'm like, the sun's going down. Then you got the next initiative, and you.
Move
Oh,
Chapman
that's right, Chapman. Yep,
because he's got a tactical 2, which is he's now in command of the depot.
I love that.
Mod has been dismissed from command again.
This hardtack will be distributed by the Third Cavalry. And then you win the
Uh,
next initiative, and
recovery. We're in recovery
oh,
now.
we are in recovery. Okay, yeah. You did your yeah. So we both passed, or you won it, passed, I passed. We go right into it, and this is great. We're coming up on 1 hour of commentary, which is exactly the amount of time it would take for me to cut all this stuff down to. So this is perfect. This worked out so well. So please,
That's amazing.
in the comment section down there, to let us know what you feel about like us doing it this way as a post action commentary, or if you just like seeing the actual true reactions, because there is something to be said for the when we roll the 1-6 and we both go this was out of necessity, of course. So we're going to finish the day here, and at this point we were over 2 hours and we had only done one turn, and both I think both your bladder and mine were screaming, and it was like I think we were both just fatigued.
I was mentally exhausted. People don't realize how much time Patrick spends on editing these to cut out thought time, thinking time, checking and verifying a rule, like the time we spent looking up entrenchments and an attack. I had a lot of thinking time on this. Hard to believe, given some of my decisions, but there was. And maybe I'd been better just what did George Costanza, don't go with your first instinct.
Do the opposite.
Do the
Do the
opposite.
opposite.
I probably should have done the opposite a couple times. But yeah, this was a great. Let's go ahead and finish out
Yeah.
the
So
log files
yeah,
so
we
people can see.
so I've got the turn track open. We went to turn 27, which is now May 30th. So we're one shy away from our next big strategic cycle. So Deering will be arriving, and I think when we evaluate the VPs now, Roger is at 47. Yes, 47 manpower losses. So you gained 8 today in this one session, and I was at 20, and I'm up to 26. So I got 6. So when all was said and done, the net differential, you went from 40 victory points at the beginning to 42. So you gained 2 in the positive for you with the offsets, but it was a very sanguine day for both sides. What are your other thoughts for this now? And we could do the actual post action just like we would do normally. We've ended the day. What are you thinking about for as we move forward here?
After we got done with our session, I I came back in my office, opened the game up. My wife says, "What are you working on?" So I'm trying to figure out how I can salvage this disaster. Actually, I don't feel like it was. I had a huge opportunity at the beginning of the session. Great start, and I kind of threw it away because I got kind of excited, and I got frustrated. And when I get frustrated, I make bad decisions. But I don't feel like. I mean, I know I'm at 40. I need to get to 130,
120.
120.
Yeah.
So I'm a third of the way there, but we've only got a couple of strategic segments left and potential early end of game. In terms of the day's session, no double ones. I got to move everybody I wanted. Probably people are wondering why I don't concede, but I actually don't think I'm in that bad of shape.
Well,
As
that was the discussion when I was sitting there doing the math, going, okay, a couple things in your silver lining column today was that you managed to get me into the second column for the game ends table, which worked a little in your
yes,
favor. I did not quite get you 249 yet, but I'm also factoring in you're going to get the same 19 points for the next 4 strategic cycles, presuming we go all the way to
yes,
June 12th. So that is close to 80 points right there. But even being 4 short, so that's what, 76 points, that brings you within the range of having all of these divisions, which are within 2 to 5 hexes, or maybe even closer to Richmond by that point. So this is not done by any stretch. What I
yes,
have to pivot to now is I've got to get my forces down into into an area where I can both be defensive and yet take opportunities to strike out and inflict some manpower losses on you. So without having you do the same with me, because that's the whole game, Patrick. So this one is I'm praying for rain and I'm praying for an early end of game because if you go the stretch of this marathon, I think you're going to eke it out ever so closely.
yeah. I get 2 points for 6 to 10 divisions, 5 points for that's just good, 1 to 5, 10 points for anybody I can get in the city per division.
Right. Yes.
Um, so if I can get, obviously my plan right now is to push these guys south, get across the Chickahominy, hopefully before it rains. I've got to continue to just stay positive. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not, I get too worn. I lost my morale check on your attack on Bernie, and I kind of was behind the 8 ball from that point. And also, I felt like I was behind most of the session. And you were, it was kind of funny as we went through the log file often. Yeah, you would make a move, and I would go, "Oh, I better go up there and see what you're doing and counter that." And then back down over here to Goochland. It was like back and forth based on what you were doing. Very fun session.
It was, and it is very easy. I was when you said that for me to realize, especially myself, for both of us to fail our personal morale checks on this because it does seem like you get into this untenable position and is the math going to work out? And I hate that it does come down to accounting, but when you ride the wave of the emotion that this one session had, where I mean, right out of the gate, you got three initiatives and you laid the smack down on me. And I was like, well, that just undoes all of my good fortune from the previous two sessions. Now I'm scrambling and I can't make mental errors. And I'm kind of hoping that in this situation where you are pressing, you're getting to critical mass where you got to bring all these units together to fight through these forts, that is going to incur some manpower losses because I'm going to be in a really good defensible position, and I'm hoping that I can offset the stuff that you're going to earn at the very end by the bloodletting that I'm going to cause as you try to
Right.
force your way through. So, yeah, there's something to be said for the Richmond defenses as long as they hold out.
Yeah.
But this was
Very good.
a wonderful session today. It had everything: thrills, chills, spills. We saw it all. And this is not possible without the enthusiasm of viewers like you. So thank you to everybody. And apologies for the crudity of this mock up of our playback today, but we wanted to make sure that I got something out because I promised it for a release day, and I was like, oh no, we could either roll it all the way back, which just seemed icky because there was so much going on that I wanted to make sure that we got this. So Roger, thank you again for the follow-up commentary, and
Oh, glad to do it. Glad to do it.
and everybody else, please take a moment, click the like and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. If you want to kick in a buck or two, there's a link down there below, but feel free to avoid that. If you want to take this content for free, I'm happy and Roger's happy to do it. So please don't feel obligated. It does help with some of the incidentals. Otherwise, we can't wait to see what session 13 is going to be like. Oh, and a little postscript. Hey, Roger, let me do that. Let me do the random event, which we almost forgot again. We rolled. It was a 4, which is nothing. So nothing at all. You didn't miss anything. So we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.